This week in the news, Valve sponsors Collabora, Halo campaign Evolved is not off to a good start, and more on Old Man Rages at the news. Before we get the show on the road, hit the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoy the content. And we're starting off the week with Qualcomm announcing Snapdragon price hikes before the Steam Frame releases. Qualcomm informed customers that prices for its product will rise by double-digit percentages. The new price will only apply to chips shipped after the 1st of September 2026, with the company saying it's exhausted its ability to absorb the higher supplier costs. This is a problem for Valve because the Steam Frame uses Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor. Now, this doesn't mean that Valve will increase the price, but it's not off the table. Valve is also sponsoring Collabora early experimental work to port the open source Mesa RADV Vulkan driver to Windows with a working demo for Counter-Strike 2. One of the French developers, look, I'm not even gonna try pronouncing the name because I'm gonna butcher it, put out highlights of their initial work porting RADV to Windows. Now, since it's a big work to port over AMD GPU Linux kernel graphics driver to Windows, they are instead focusing on just bringing RADV to Windows and relying on AMD official Windows kernel drivers. The blog post will be linked in the sources for anyone curious. And on the funny side of things, a Redditor managed to rig their Steam Deck to taser their family in order to stop them from touching it. The things people do to make sure no one touches their stuff is amazing and baffles me sometimes. Now, as you can see, the dude made a spiky case. Oh, it's a 3D printed case and it's not actual spikes, but, well, kinda looks like spikes. Well, anyways. And after showing off the case, he then explained how the taser worked. Now, the thing I find amusing about all of this is that he added a speaker to play a goofy audio clip. Yep, the cherry on top of all of that is after you get zapped, you hear Goofy. This is comedy gold. One moment, you're holding, let's see, next moment, get shocked, bitch. And you hear ding, ha, ha, wee, or something along those lines. Now, a commenter also pointed out he could just have added a password, but went beyond with a taser. Well, then again, where's the fun in that? And now, for something I wasn't expecting to happen. Well, to be honest, I wasn't expecting for it to happen so recently after Amazon's web servers went down last week, making it impossible for people to use their PlayStations, but, well, Xbox went down as well. Specifically on the 27th of July, which prevented players from launching single-player games. And then you have some people defending always online DRM. Fucking hell. Well, to give you an idea of how bad this one was, at 12:32 PM local time, they acknowledged the issue, and they got it fixed at 1:48 AM time on the 28th of July. That was almost as similar in duration as the PlayStation outage. Stuff like this is the reason why I'm not getting a console, for the love of God. The moment the console's network drops, well, good luck playing a single-player game. Now, speaking of single-player games, Halo Campaign Evolved got fully released. Now, I normally would like to give every game more than a week to see if they get their shit together, but this is just sad. Look, it only managed to get, 25,376 players, all-time peak player on Steam. Obviously, since Halo is available on Xbox and other storefronts, we can't get anywhere near accurate information. Even with the 3 trackers SteamDB shows, it doesn't paint an accurate measure since, it's all Steam data that's available. So, you know what? I went to the Halo X account to see if they bragged about it. But, well, you guessed it. Nothing. Pure fucking crickets. It also doesn't help the case that it is 65% positive on Steam, only with this Redditor talking about how there is a bug where keybinds don't save between sessions, and General Jank revolving around the settings. How the fuck do you fuck up saving keybinds is beyond me. Now, the only numbers so far that aren't estimates are from Matt Piscatella, where according to Circana's player engagement tracker, when Halo launched on the 28th of July, 8% of total Xbox players launched the game, while only 2% of active users launched it on Steam, with 1% for PlayStation. The problem is, these numbers are only launch day, and yet again, it's only for the US, so take him with a giant grain of salt. Matt also clarified in a reply that to count as an active Steam user, you just need to play the game on that day. Make of that what you will. And sticking with Halo for a bit more, you might have seen this video where, well, it went very viral recently, where the dude couldn't kill the ladies on the ship. It came from the streamer Justin Joseph, but what he also did is upload an update that didn't get any real traction. Now, this is the reason why I want to point this out.
After the video was posted and it started going crazy, we did have one of the devs jump in to the comments and kind of explain why this was happening. Now, to preface, I'm a competitive player, so naturally for me, I'm always aiming for the head, period. I'm not going for body shots, which honestly, if you go for body shots, you can see that they're all actually killable. So no, the women are not invincible in this situation. It's a little bit of a botched hitbox there. But also, he let us know that essentially the damage transfer was acting weird. And because originally in Halo CE, there were all male NPCs there, when they added the female NPCs, they didn't have the right hitboxes, the right damage transfer, which led to this whole situation. Now, if you think that it's...
Now, I do personally believe the developer because, well, look, if you spend time looking or even trying it out for yourself, if you have the game that is, instead of having a meltdown on X, you would have seen that it's possible to kill the female NPCs, just like it's demonstrated in the clip. Now, let's be real here. I very much believe that person who put the NPCs in there has no idea how to code hitboxes. Hell, the whole game reeks of a failed cash grab attempt, especially when you compare to the Halo Master Chief Collection, which, I mean, no matter how you look at it, is a better value proposition than this thing. I mean, think for a minute. If you have 40 euros or 40 US dollars spare, would you get a collection of games that have multiplayer? Hell, Campaign Evolved is $50 on Xbox's side, and it still doesn't bring nearly enough value as the Combat Evolved pack, so, you know, what would any sane person do? $60 to get, what, one game? Or $40 to get 4 games, and then $20 on something to drink or snack while playing the games? Look, I don't think there's any competition here. Well, unless you want to play Halo Combat Evolved on PlayStation, where you're kind of screwed out of luck. You know, since the only thing there is Campaign Evolved, Combat Evolved is nowhere to be found, and, well, you either spend $60 on something that is a desperate cash grab and doesn't even represent Halo, or go on YouTube and watch somebody play the damn thing. And you're probably gonna get the same level of experience as you playing it. So, you know, not exactly a good place for PlayStation users if they want to join it in on Halo, but hey, to each is their own, I guess. And sticking with PlayStation and their ongoing shit show, well, specifically Sony, since they finally talked about the decision to stop making physical media. Well, talked is a strong word, more like they kinda mentioned it, not to the public as well, or their social media, but from a Q&A session during their financial year of 2026's, where the chief financial officer, Lin Tao, was asked about the decision and explained there are various reasons behind it. The biggest of them being digitalization. And for anyone who doesn't even want to bother speaking corporate bullshit, it's everything going digital. Boy, I can go off on so many tangents about everything going digital. Well, anyways, I'm on the bright side. At least Lin Tao acknowledged the backlash from the internet, but apparently that's where the bright side ends, since he suggested the company is reconsidering and exploring how to engage with consumers with a future digital ecosystem. It's Jover for physical media on Sony's side, isn't it? Pretty sure that was their whole selling point at one point, that you can, share your games if you aren't playing them, but at this point, I'm convinced that this is one of the biggest reasons why they're doing away with physical games. Since, you and your mate have a PlayStation, you get a game that looks good, your mate wants to try it, puts the disc in, plays the game, finishes the game, loves it, gives you back the disc, and then, holy hell, Sony doesn't make money. Because it's all about the money. You know what? Let's take a look at their digital ecosystem for a moment as well, shall we? The biggest problem is, as people recently experienced with, the blackout Sony has, once the servers go down, you can't use the console. It literally becomes an overpriced paperweight. And God forbid something happens to your internet connection on your side, then you can't play your single-player games that need the internet to function. Those are the two biggest problems that need addressing. As far as I can find in the Q&A, they weren't addressed. Color me surprised. Now, with all of that in mind, I still can't for the life of me figure out why Ubisoft can even think that Sony ditching digital game discs will help the industry grow at all, but hey, it's the same company that said player numbers equals good, so, there's not a whole lot of brain activity in there in terms of statements, let's be honest. Now, the only thing I see here happening is that Sony and Xbox go full digital, and, considering games you buy digitally are gone the moment your account with either Sony or Xbox it gets either deleted, banned, hacked, and you lost access to it. At that point, who knows how much you spent on it, and you're at the mercy of whatever customer support rep you get if your account will be restored or not. And what happens if it doesn't get restored? Well, congrats, you start from scratch. Good luck. More money to Sony, Xbox, and any other digital store platform. Steam included. I'm not forgetting that they're digital only. Steam customer services does have a good track record with shit like this, so yeah. Also, not to mention, I haven't heard anybody bitching about getting banned off of Steam, so, at least the bar is a bit higher with Steam than Sony and Xbox. But on the bright side, at least, the Final Fantasy VII Revelations director is pushing for a physical edition, but nothing's decided yet. The director told Game Radar, and I quote, "We're still having internal discussions on what the exact SKU product lineup is going to be for Revelation. So I can't say anything particularly definitive at this point in time, but I am working to make the arguments to allow us to have some kind of physical edition." Yeah, that's a whole quote right there. Now, he is optimistic that there will be at least some form of a physical edition, where it's just a code in a box or a game card, but that's just his personal feelings at the end of the day. And I'd still think any physical edition needs a disc in it, if nothing else, to be able to preserve the fucking game. And, Sony can't tell you, destroy the thing you spend money on, or we're gonna be angry at you. I mean, they can, but nobody in their right mind's gonna pay money for a disc and then snap it in half just because somebody else told them to. Sony. You only have one job. Bring back physical media. Hell, even if it is in USB form. At this point, that's gonna be better since, well, USBs don't require a lot of space. But anyways, what do I know? I'm just a mook with a mic. And now class, join me for a session of how to fuck over your employees. Andrew Wilson the head of EA, got a raise in the bonus he got by 8 million euros, making a jump to 38 million. And it's all thanks to Battlefield 6's success. But just don't pay attention to the laid off staff, despite admitting Battlefield 6 was a record-breaking launch. The information for the raise came from the 10K report, where on page 21, it shows Wilson receiving a total of a little over 38 million euros in stock awards and bonus payments. Other executives also received a good chunk, with the chief financial officer getting 11.3 million, the president of EA getting 13.7 million, the chief's people officer getting 8.3 million, the chief legal officer getting 8.4 million. You get the gist. Why reward the people that made Battlefield 6 when you can fuck them over to say your profits went up, give yourself a raise, then hire new people at lower salaries for more workload? Almost as if that's a common thing for the games industry, but hey, what am I to say? Now, the best part of all this is EA will soon become a privately owned company. As document filed with the CES, the publisher disclosed, and I quote, "As of July 30th, 2026, all regulatory approvals required to complete the merger have been obtained. Electronic Arts currently expects the merger to close on or about the closure of trading on the 4th of August 2026. Completion of the merger remains subject to the satisfaction or waiver of the remaining customary closing conditions set forth in the merger agreement." And on Tuesday, I can already smell a lot of people being pissed off. Yay! And now for rapid fire news. Epic is extra cooked because the Battle.net lead jumps on the Epic Game Store to make it less crap. Sheesh, that's tall order, and even taller the moment you realize it's the Battle.net guy, where the storefront is a massive maze and a pain in the ass to navigate, and the in-game shops are easier to comprehend somehow. They hired Activision Blizzard's SVP Martin Keeley, and he announced that he's joining Epic as the vice president / general manager of the Epic Game Store and online services. Oh, crap. I can already feel the enshittification creeping in. Now, in other news, Minecraft increased its RAM requirement to 16 gigabytes. To give you an idea, that is usually the recommended amount for, big mod packs. So they sure as shit made the game more demanding. Now, this number refers to your total system memory because according to the article, the Java edition reserves 4 gigabytes only. They're also trying to switch to Vulkan and later on completely drop out OpenGL. Honestly though, I have no real clue why they're switching the requirements. On their website they say it's cause they don't want to be limited by old hardware, but again, it's not clear enough. In other news, you can now fully immerse yourself in Stardew Valley if you have a VR headset, because someone made a mod to add VR capabilities for the game. You can also use the mod to play it as a 3D game as well, which is also good news. Now, this was made by Kingsar VR, and she posted it on Nexus Mods with a video on how to set it up. She did also clarify on X that it's just C# scripting without any shader texture or 3D models, meaning it works with any mod. Talk about community loving a game for fucking hell. How long is that? For over 10 years. Yeah, 10 years. Let that sink in. In other news, we could potentially get Pragmata 2 due to success of the original game. Now, according to Capcom corporate officer Yoshikazu Shimayuchi, He told Bloomberg there is a chance of a Pragmata follow-up, but as per usual, there is nothing on these types of comments, no follow-ups, no nothing, just saying it's possible. In other news, there are sources that suggest Fable is uncomfortably over budget. Now, what does that mean? Fuck if I know, cause I sure love vague statements said by unknown sources. Now, this came from Windows Central where, well, in a small snippet, it said, and to quote the article, "The same cannot be said for the next Fable though," which sources suggest has run quote-unquote uncomfortably beyond budget. Microsoft previously noted that any games previously announced as multi-platform would continue to be, and that includes Fable. To be frank, I'm not shocked in the slightest that this shit is running over budget. It's done by Xbox at the end of the day, and that thing was running for the longest time on Minecraft of all things. And yes, I'm not gonna let them live that down. Never. Now, as much as I like to say we're ending on a happy note, it's a bit of a mixed bag really. And now, to wrap things up, the Elder Scrolls Online content is delayed to 2027 due to Xbox layoffs. This came from a new blog post where the director, Nick Giacomini, made it clear that ESO isn't on the verge of shutting down. The delay is to give the team some time to do things right. And, as a wise man once said, a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. And that's all for this week's Old Man Rages at the News. You know the drill, hit the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoy the content. And I'll see ya next week.